Hello, my friends, and welcome to another episode of MTD Global. And I am here with a good friend of mine, Dan, today. And we're going to talk with him about the creation of a company called Machining with Meaning. Why it was started, what they're doing today, the goals for what they have in the future, and all the little details in between that I think you guys are going to be super excited to learn about. So, Dan, thank you so much for being with MTD Global today.
Oh, thank you for interviewing me.
Yeah, it's absolutely a pleasure. I really want to kick this thing off just with your story of machining with meaning. I know a little bit about it, but how did that start?
My brother and I bought some hobby grade machines. We have an old South Bend lathe, and we had a Tormach mill. And like I suppose a lot of people, I got bitten.
It happens quickly, doesn't it?
It sure does, and there's quite a steep learning curve. But as time went on, I found myself getting better and better at it. And about 3 years ago, I had a very good friend of mine come down with some cancer, and he also was very much into making things and just being creative, and he was really into doing this with me. And sometime during his journey and his treatment, we decided, well, why not take this new passion of mine and do something productive with it. Why not operate and just donate the funds that we generate from operating to cancer research. You never know where that little extra just come in and make a difference in society or in one person's life. So that's sort of how this got started.
So let's start at the beginning of that. So 5 years ago, you got into machining. What inspired you to wanting to get into machining?
Well, I was just one of those kids that just built things at a young age. And, in college, I was an engineer. That's what I studied. So I've always just liked tinkering and building, and, but my career took me different places. So, I fed that through just hobbies, you could say. I've done lots of different things. And then, about 8 years ago, my brother and I decided to, why don't we get some machining equipment and let's see if we could just develop something that might be useful. I think it'll be interesting, and technology was then and now that really the barriers to entry are much lower than they used to be, with computing power. And so we bought, our first mill and an old used lathe, and we learned.
You said you started with a Tormach.
Tormach, yes.
And how long before you hopped into this beautiful Brother Speedio we see in front of us now?
Well, I've had this beautiful Brother Speedio for about 1 year.
Okay.
And that decision was made to upgrade equipment due to some frustrations I had with the Tormach, in that I didn't have a tool changer, and it was a great machine, and it's the perfect machine to learn on.
Mm-hmm.
You crash a Tormach, not much is going to happen.
That makes great sense. Yes,
yeah,
sir.
Yeah. So, but I knew that I wanted something more. I wanted some real equipment. I thought I was ready for it. And I initially started out looking for some used equipment, but then I quickly realized that I don't have the resources or the knowledge at hand if something goes wrong to repair it. I'd probably be better off getting a new piece of equipment. And so I reached out to several manufacturers, and I really clicked with the guys at Yamazon.
Mm-hmm.
Great group of people. And it just so happens that their machines are able to fit into this really tight. We're in a garage right now, with very small doors, and this was the most machine I could fit into the space. It's a 40 by 20, and it just happens to be an incredible machine.
Well, you're right. The Yamazon guys are easy to get along with.
Oh, yeah.
Steve Bond is a good friend of both you and I, and
Yeah.
I have a lot of great things to say about Steve and the folks at Yamazon. So it's great to hear your testimony as well. Yes, guys, we are in a garage, which is super cool. But I also want to talk a little bit more now about machining with meaning and how they they're not really doing this to get rich for themselves. They're donating not just more than the profits, their time, the tooling. They take the material cost and then give back to a foundation, which I hear is a fantastic foundation for pancreatic cancer.
That's correct. It's the Pancreatic Cancer Action Network, or PanCAN,
PanCAN, okay.
which they were a great resource and help for my friend as he was going through his pancreatic cancer battle. And he believed in the organization very much. So we decided that we're going to work exclusively for donations toward PanCAN. And, we spoke with those folks there, and they're very appreciative, and, we have an agreement with them. So in essence, we donate equipment, time, electricity, consumables, oils, coolant, everything, tooling, everything that it takes to run a job shop. And then we donate 100% of what we collect, less just the hard material costs for the job. So, all engineering time, all labor, anything you could think of, we donate.
So, in order to break this down a little bit layman's terms, because I want everyone to understand, because a lot of people go, well, how are they making money? How are they doing this? How does it make sense? But it's really a great gift what you guys are doing. So I want to break it down in layman's terms for everyone to understand.
Okay.
If I have a part and I need you to make 1,000 of it,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to quote me on the material it costs to make that part. And then you're going to make it for me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And whatever you've charged me for those 1,000 pieces, minus material costs, you give to this PanCAN.
That is correct.
That
is correct.
is amazing. So it's likely that I'll either get a little bit of a better deal than maybe trying to go overseas or something like that. I can do something domestically with you guys, still have great quality work on either your brother or your Akuma that I saw over there, so we know we're getting good parts. Mm-hmm. And we're also giving back to a really great cause.
Yes, that's basically it. Yes.
Well, you've helped me decide that I'm going to create something brand spanking new and have you guys machine it for me, because this sounds like a beautiful thing to me, and I'd love to be a part of it.
Oh, thank you. So, our goal is not to compete with other job shops who are doing this to support their families. Our goal is to capture business that maybe job shops feel are too small, or that a company is has price constraints and they're thinking about sending it overseas. We're able to do those jobs because we're not operating to make a profit to grow the business. We're operating solely for charity, and we have some corporate sponsors who help defray some of the operating costs. So our philosophy is if we're able to generate some money that will result in donations, we won't turn down a job. And we also realize that we're not necessarily a full-time job shop full of a bunch of experienced professional machinists. So, we don't expect to, generate the same income that someone who's doing this as their livelihood can.
Right.
Yeah.
But you guys have a fantastic place where, like you said, no job is too small. Mm-hmm. And if it's a cost constraint, perhaps you can help there as well. Mm-hmm. You've been doing it for 5 years now. It's obvious that you're intelligent enough to sort it out. And you work closely with Yamazin, so if there are some issues that need support in one way or another, you're able to find that also.
Oh, yes.
So,
yeah, they've been very helpful.
Yeah, the combination of everything, it does place you in a unique scenario that allows support for people and also gives back to a cause without taking from those who are feeding their families, as you mentioned, right?
Yeah,
So
yes.
You've really explained it well to allow, I believe, our audience to understand where you're coming from, and I appreciate that. You're also looking for, if someone wants to, coolant, oil, tooling, any of these kinds of donations to go along with what you're doing if they believe in your cause as well.
Yes, any donation is helpful. As I mentioned, we've had some corporate donations in cash that help us defray some of these costs. But yeah, I mean, any kind of donation, the way I look at it is if you help us to operate, that donation will be amplified, and that we'll be able to turn your $2 donation into $10 of finished product donation.
Well, where does this kindness and generosity come from, Dan? Did you just grow up being nice all your life and you thought, hey, I'll start a machine shop and continue to be nice? Or did this come from losing someone very close to you and wanting to do everything you can to support anyone else who might go through the same emotional roller coaster?
Well, it's sort of a little bit of both. You know, I feel a lot of what you have in life is circumstance and luck, and I feel I've just got lucky in this life. I've had a lot of opportunity. I've been successful enough to be able to really give back, because I understand that, but for the grace of God, I could have been given different circumstances and I wouldn't have all these opportunities. So, I feel it's important to give back when you can. And, experiencing what I went through with my friend, it was clear to me that that's a great cause, because there are so many people who are passionate and donate their lives to helping people, advance, medical knowledge, that, I know that any donation I make towards that end will eventually result in people's lives being saved. Maybe my own. You never know, right?
Yeah.
So, why not?
I like that.
Why not?
And Dan, do you mind sharing with our audience an estimated number of how much you've been able to donate to PanCan so far?
Certainly. So we started, our first quarter was the last quarter of 2020. And then we were doing primarily some work for a telescope manufacturer, making things like lens cells and tripods and things like that. And for that quarter, we ended up donating approximately $10,000. And in this quarter, we don't have a number yet. We're still finishing our books, but we hope to grow. We intentionally didn't want to overcommit ourselves in the beginning, because we don't want to take on jobs and disappoint customers. We want to make sure we produce good product. We intend to continue to grow and make that $10,000 a quarter become 20, 50, whatever it takes. And we will donate whatever resources are necessary to make that happen.
And I'm sure I'm not the first one to say it, but let me say it for MTD and the rest of the MTD family that's out there. Thank you for what you're doing with Machining with Meaning. It's really important that we take care of one another, and what you're doing really touches my heart as well. So thank you for doing that.
Well, thank you.